Hello and welcome to the Unlock the New You podcast, dedicated to helping you reclaim your vitality, enhance your well-being, and live your best life. I'm your host, Bobby Stein, alongside Anthony Chiarolanza, founder of Bonita Rejuvenation. At Bonita Rejuvenation, we specialize in HRT, peptide therapy, anti-aging treatment, and safe weight loss methods. Each episode, we explore cutting-edge solutions, share expert advice, and dive deep into how you can unlock a happier, healthier version of yourself. Welcome and thanks for tuning in. Anthony, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Bobby.
You are fantastic.
Doing my best, brother.
Who's better than you?
Well, there's a lot, but for tonight, we're going to leave it at me.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, welcome to the new podcast. I just thought that thank you, man. Thanks for joining me. I thought that the folks might like to know what your background is, what your journey was from like A to B. You're a Philadelphia guy, aren't you?
Born and raised in the city of Philadelphia, brother.
Outstanding. And if memory serves, you shared with me the fact that you were a detective on the police force, or what did you do?
I worked for the Philadelphia Police Department for 12 years, and I was a sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And how many did you have guys under you eventually? How long were you in the force?
Well, like I said, I did 12 years. I was fortunate to be able to work with a lot of great people and in a lot of good areas. I say good areas, and I know you're from Philadelphia also, so you know what I'm getting at. Fun, I should say, fun areas. But
interesting.
But yeah, it was an interesting and fun part of my life. Learned a lot, met a lot of really, really good people. A lot of good guys and girls on the job. Yeah, fantastic part of my life.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
And now you find yourself here in Southwest Florida.
Yes.
Outstanding. So, construction background?
Yeah, my family, I'm fourth generation cement mason.
Okay.
My great-grandfather came over from Italy. He was a stone, block, and concrete guy. So it was something I had to do, So at 13, here I am, wheelbarrow concrete in and out of row homes in the city of Philadelphia. And something that I never really wanted to do, but just following my father's footsteps. At one point, there was like 11 Chiarolanzas in the concrete business at one time. And at 19, I went out on my own and for my own thing. And at one point, my father, my great uncles even worked for me, my younger brother, my nephews. And we built a really good career.
So when you went out on your own, was it in a concrete field?
It was. My family really was into more commercial.
Okay.
I went residential. And I really went out on my own because I thought my name was Boy until I was 19. I didn't know it was Anthony because I was called Boy, right? And I knew that I wanted to be a businessman. And my family, great mechanics. You can't get any better. But these guys were workers, grunts.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was more out there for me. And I really wanted to explore the whole being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And at an early age, I knew that I wanted to do that. So decided to go out on my own. And 34 years later.
Yeah. I'm cut from a similar cloth. My folks were my grandfather, my uncle, my brother, my dad. Everybody was in the glass business. We were glaziers, and I knew that that's one thing for sure. One takeaway was I did not want to do that. I wanted to. In fact, I told my dad, I said, "I'll sell for you, Dad." I said, "I'm going to feed your pipeline, so you can." And I had that bent too. So what? When you decided to become an entrepreneur, what did you first lend your hand to? What spurred your interest? What was that all about?
You know what? I don't even know, Bob. It was in me. I just knew it. I knew I wanted to be a businessman. Mm-hmm. Part of my life, a short part, but part of my life, I have a lot of first cousins, being an Italian family, big. On my mom's side, we have 38 first cousins, just on my mom's side.
Good God.
And one of my cousins, her boyfriend at the time, they were 10 years older than me. They were really big into ballroom dancing. A place called Arthur Murray Ballroom Dance Studio.
Yes.
Okay. And I was close with him, and he wanted me to take him to the gym, and I did. And he had said, "Hey, why don't you come and work with me?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm a construction guy. And he talked to me a little bit about the ins and outs and had a lot to do with sales. So I did, and I learned an extreme amount about sales. So really that business wasn't about teaching people how to dance as it was more selling dance lessons. Okay?
Right.
So I knew that that's really the area that I wanted to be in. I excelled at it. I was good at it. And I then took that into what I was doing in the construction world. And that's how my business started.
So you overlaid the lessons that you learned. Yeah, I understand. It's more like they have all the processes and the role playing.
Correct, 100%. Yeah. In fact, I had always been into fitness, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But I had been competing in bodybuilding at the same time. And at that time, Bailey's Health Clubs was just coming out.
Bally's.
And they actually used our format. And at 18, 19 years old, I was teaching at seminars on how to do the format that we used, bronze, silver, gold. They were the programs we offered, and Bally's incorporated that, and that's kind of, again, how I just use that in my sales approach and everything. And I say sales. I mean, you've talked about this before. Listen, we sell every single day. We sell ourselves, right? So even in today's times, I even tell my wellness coaches, it's not just about selling a product. You're selling yourself. You're building relationships. You're building rapport. People want to have confidence in you, and you have to show them that. And that itself is selling, right?
Totally.
So, I learned that at an early age. Didn't know what I was learning, but I learned it.
Yeah.
And it just carried me through all of my career and all the businesses that I've owned.
Yeah, that's the wonderful trial by fire, right? 17, 18 years old, a young man.
Yep.
You're taking that model from Arthur Murray's and instilling it with, actually Bally's was a big enterprise, so that was a big undertaking.
Yeah, 100%. And in fact, I used it with the police department. I've coached many of police officers who are now bosses in the police department, because in order to get promoted, it's not just written exams, you have to do oral exams. And I excelled at that. And just, again, talking in front of people was really never an issue for me.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah. Well, I look at it like this. I say to everybody, from 15 to 21, I stood on a stage in a skinny little impy bikini and people judging you, right? Yeah. So you learn to get confidence, thick skin, and whatnot. So being in front of people is not that big of a deal.
So it served you well, and you parlayed that into the construction business.
Yep.
So you briefly touched on the fitness. What appealed to you about the fitness industry, or the magazines?
Well, everything about it. So, my family, especially my father, they were all in the fight game. So at 11 years old,
boxing?
Boxing.
Okay.
And,
Street
fighting, right? Yeah. Being in that whole construction era back then was totally different than it is now. Mm-hmm. So we had to fight. I had an older brother, Michael, was 4 years older than me, who was really, really good at it as well. And hitting heavy bag, speed bag. I had a cousin who was a Marine. My father was a Marine, Vietnam vet.
Okay.
So my cousin was a Golden Glove boxer. And it was just something that was around me. And learned how to box and did a little amateur stuff until I was 15. And that's what my first experience into the whole bodybuilding world. Very, very fortunate. I was right outside of Philadelphia in the suburb, a place called Greg Long's Gym. Been in operation 50 years. And I walk in at 15 and I see all these big, giant guys. And to me, I've never left. It's been heaven ever since. I mean, I was fortunate to be with really top-ranked professionals. In fact, the owner, Greg, had won the Universe and Mr. World that year.
Oh, yeah.
So for me at 15, already in shape, thinking, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. I immediately got into competing, wound up doing 10 shows, took second in the USA at one point.
Congrats.
And loved it. It's been my life ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah, ever since.
Awesome. You forayed into your own clubs, right? Did you do CrossFit or something?
I did at some point. As I got older in life, I was looking for something different. But I mean, I've been in fitness forever. From after bodybuilding, I never really stopped, but I stopped competing. Got married early. And I always tease it. My wife at the time got pregnant, my first daughter, and I put 50 pounds on because I got pregnant as well. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a year later, I'm like, hey, how was I standing on stage 2 years ago? Now I'm a fat roly-poly, right? So I relate that to my patients in today's times, and I say, I understand. I know the ups and downs.
Yep.
Got myself back in shape, and then I went back to boxing, which led me to martial arts.
Okay.
I wound up getting a first-degree black belt in Taekwondo and Hapkido. During that time, I actually was training with an Israeli kickboxer pro. He came to America to try to get his fourth-degree black belt. We hit it off, and he said, I'm opening up a place. Would you want to come and help me? So I said, of course. At nighttime, I went there, helped him set everything up, and guess what I did? Bronze, silver, gold programs. Took off, and I started training some police officers. Self-defense, and that's how the whole law enforcement thing came. I never really had any inkling to be a cop. Nobody in my family was a cop, and none of that stuff. And growing up in the city, running from cops, especially when you're at a keg party, right? Get the tap. But they were like, hey, why don't you take the job? And newly married, kid at home, and need health benefits, right? And And I'm not sure if you remember, but in the early 90s, construction was really slow.
Yeah.
All right. So took the test. Took me a few years to get on. And once I got on, business picked up. So I was a cop and ran the business. Simultaneous, brother. Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur ever since. And fortunately for me, some of the guys that I had been working with, as I was getting on, had become bosses. And they said, hey, you get on the job. You want to come along with us, you got to study. So I studied right away. I made sergeant a little over 3 years on the job, which at that point was kind of unheard of.
That's accelerated, yeah also.
And at that time, some of the other guys who were in their circle recognized me, and I actually got asked to go to a certain location. You never say no when somebody high up. When a boss says, hey, we want you to come here, you never say no, right? So went there, and about 3 months back in uniform again, which sucked a little bit. Right?
Yeah, I thought you were taking a...
But they had just started a new program in the city of Philadelphia and called NETS teams, Narcotics Enforcement Teams. And it was really localized in each district to try to get street-level drugs off. Because as you know, in Philadelphia, crime is really, really bad, and drugs are at the forefront, right? So immediately they asked me to take that over, which I did, and did that for 2 years with them, and then got asked to go to a special unit, and that was deep undercover. Deep undercover, which was good for me because it allowed me to still run the business and come in and be stealth at the same time as doing my job with this video. And I really excelled at it. We did really good things. It just got to be too much to do both. Yeah. And my family life really suffered from it. So, I had to make a decision. And I'm sure later on we'll talk about it, but one of my kids had gotten sick, and I just needed to be home because, above everything else, I'm a father and a family man, and I wanted to be there. So
absolutely.
I decided to leave the job, and right around that time is when the 2008 recession hit. 2020 hindsight, right? I should have probably just closed the construction business up, but it is what it is. So I had a great career there. Still friendly with a lot of guys. As a matter of fact, just the other day would have been our 29th anniversary.
Wow.
A great time in my life. It just, it ran its course.
So you forged a lot of relationships. It served you well. Yeah. So you jump into the pan out of the fire, or vice versa, in 2008, right?
Man.
So tell me, how did you find your way to this point in your life where you really are serving folks?
Well, I tell the story of this. So in 2001, I wanted to get back into bodybuilding, and I actually wanted to get on some sort of testosterone. Someone had said to me, hey, I know a guy down in Florida. So I flew down to West Palm. It's called West Palm Rejuvenation. And me and the owner hit it off immediately. He's a New York guy, was an MLB player. And we chatted, we formed a relationship, and he's like, Anthony, I don't understand, why aren't you doing this? And at that point, I was on the police department and running the business. I didn't need any more work.
On your plate.
I'm like, dude, you're crazy. I'm full, I'm good. And I just started referring people because it was the greatest thing in the world.
Sure.
Everything's legal and everything's right. Doctor monitored and prescribed. And every year at that point, so there was no telemedicine back then. Right. It wasn't called TRT or any of that stuff, right? Yeah. It wasn't any of that crap. Every year we'd have to fly down to see the doc. And again, we just formed a great relationship. Bond. And I started counseling the guys that I was sending to him. And
elaborate on that. What do you mean?
So I was referring other guys that I knew in my area. Hey, look, you want to do some testosterone? I got a great guy for you in Florida.
I see.
And then I started counseling them and coaching them.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, coaching them. So that's really where I got into the coaching in this now world called the testosterone replacement world, or whatever you want to call it, anti-aging. And that kind of evolved. And then after the 2008 thing, when things kind of crashed in the construction business, I really got deeper into it. My coaching in the fitness world started really growing. Not because I wanted it to. I never charged. I just loved it. I would be in the gym and people would ask me questions, and especially a lot of younger guys. And I look back, Bobby, and I think back to what I had said to you earlier in our conversation, right? I'm 15, and I walk into this gym with all these pro bodybuilders. The kid I went to high school, his father was there. He was a retired pro, and they just took me under their wing, right?
Yeah.
So I had to do that.
Yeah.
And it just felt natural to me. In fact, you know, my wife Angelina now always says, "Stop giving this away." You know, she used to really give me a hard time.
Sure.
But I just love it, man. I just love helping people.
Labor of love.
I just loved it. And you know, that fast forwarded into that time, and I was like, wow, I'm looking for something different to do. And that's when I started competing in CrossFit in 2009, 10, when it was new, right?
Yeah.
It was fantastic back then. And I wound up coaching there and then getting my certificate to be an instructor, and then wind up getting an affiliation, and wound up having two. Competed locally. By that time, I was a little older, and it's a young man sport.
It is.
Really was great back then. But wind up tearing a labrum in my shoulder, and it was like, hey, this is just not for me.
Yeah.
And had surgery, wind up selling off the school, and went back to just coaching, I'm going to say the bodybuilding world, but just really in the regular gym world.
Right.
In fact, I was at LA Fitness, one of the chains. And started coaching one of my daughters, and you know, my coaching just started growing and growing and growing. I've always helped people with getting prepared for bodybuilding shows, photo shoots. I've done all that stuff.
Sure.
And then started incorporating the hormones into it. And again, it wasn't something that I thought about.
You're still not right. You're still not charging per se.
No, not at all. In fact, for me, George had said, "Hey, you do this, and you know, whatever you need, we'll give it to you across." I was like, "Bet, I'm in." You know what I mean? Bet, I don't need no money. I'm good. Yeah, sign me up. I'm sold. And I just loved it. I believed in it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I seen what it did for me. I seen what it did for other people. And I'm not talking about the whole steroid world. Listen, I'm at this age. I'm going to be 57 next month in February. I'm not an advocate, but I won't down it. I've been there. I've done it. So
Sure.
I understand it, and there's a place for it.
Right.
It's just as we grow older, become wiser. Right. It's more of
Quality,
right?
longevity,
right. Longevity, right? So. I don't really care about standing on stage getting a $5 trophy. It's like I want to live a long, healthy, happy life. And you have kids, right? And I walked my daughter down the aisle. Have another daughter getting married, and that's like a landmark for a man that has daughters,
Absolutely.
right? For me, I'm now looking at my grandchildren. Okay, so I want to be at my grandchildren's wedding now.
Right.
So that's now, but that's really how I got involved in the whole hormone world.
Okay.
I would fly back and forth. I've been wanting to move to Florida for years, and George would say to me, "Hey man, when you get here, we'll get you set up and all that kind of good stuff." And that's really how this all evolved. So it's been long time coming.
Sure,
Yeah.
but the timing's perfect, and nothing. There's no accidents, right? So. Yep. You tear your labrum because it's a young man's sport. You're looking to re-enter the atmosphere of the world, as it were. And then you said the light bulb went off, and you said, "Hey, man, the wear and tear on a chicken's ass isn't worth the price of the egg."
100%, man. I can't be doing this no more. Or at least got to change my mindset.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But you're paying it forward, right? All this stuff that you're so passionate about, you're doing it. The counseling of the police force, the flights back and forth, and the coaching and everything. What made you decide to start charging for it and actually offering the service to the community at large? Because there is a big market for that, myself included. I'm a little bit older than you. I want to live that, quality of life. I want to have the longevity. And what made that happen? Well,
when I knew I was going to move here for good.
Yes, sir.
I keep saying George, he was the owner of the clinic. He had said I'd help you get set up. And I'm a loyal guy. I'm like, I'm good. I just want to stay with you. So what I started implementing was more in-depth protocols for the people that I was counseling. Talking to them about their weight loss, talking about meal plans, not so much just for getting them ready for a show, but just for overall health, right? And nothing's for free.
No.
Because what I found, Bobby, and I'm sure you may have come across this, is when you do it for free, nobody really cares.
They don't value it.
There's no value.
No.
There's no value at all.
What's it say? What's that saying? It says if you pay, you'll pay attention.
100%. And that's so true. It's so true. Especially in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I found that, and the people that I charged were doing great. And it was minimal, by the way. I mean, minimal. Not enough for anybody to live off of, but again, just something.
Right.
And so we moved here. A few months later, George passes away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Great guy. He was like 25 years older than I. Passes away, and I was like, you know what, this is my opportunity, man. I really want to do this, and I know me and you have chatted before about it, and I really wanted to do this really boutique-y. Keep it small, keep it simple.
Yeah.
And brother, the man upstairs has a different idea from me, right? He's got a different path, right? So it just, within a matter of months, this thing went from, being boutique-y to just overwhelming.
Yeah, so at present you're overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed, yeah, overwhelmed. Thank God I'm doing TRT. It helps me through this, right?
Exactly. Well, that's intriguing. I find it that there's a really good way to go about it. You alluded to it earlier, this quote unquote steroids. That's really not what it's all about. No. I mean, if you're high end and competitive doing that young man or young gals thing, and you're on stage and you're introducing all types of different substances into your bloodstream to affect a result, that's good for a minute. But as we age, okay, I think especially down here in our particular neck of the woods in Southwest Florida, we want to be, we don't want to be one of those deconditioned folks coming down and just kind of happy hour. We want to really, if we want to golf, we don't want to blow our back out when we're trying to pick the ball up out of the cup after we just hit a birdie. Yep. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
So some of the things that you do here, we'll get into the features in the service. You still enjoy service. You have a great heart and passion for service and helping folks. Talk about that.
I do, and to my detriment at times. I go overboard. I read a great book, Unreasonable Hospitality. And that's the service I provide. It's unreasonable. It's unreasonable. And again, I'll bring up Angelina. She say all the time, I don't know how you do this, but it just feels right. I want to be there. I want to provide. All of my patients, for the most part, have my cell phone. And I will respond. Now, it's a lot easier when you're small and boutique-y. You're right. As we've grown, it's overwhelming.
Well, there's got to be that layer of insulation, or you'll go out of your mind.
Correct. But I have relationships. I build relationships and rapport with my patients.
What is the amount of import and weight that you put on rapport and relationships?
100. I mean, that's it. So we talk about sales, right? We don't sell bottles. We don't sell products. Now, of course, that's part of it. We sell service that's equal to your relationship. What does that mean? Well, relationship first. You build relationship. People build confidence and trust in you. They want to make sure that you have their best interest, right? 100%. And to me, I take that over and above. Look, this is where you're at. I want to get you here.
Yeah, and you do that.
And we do that. We've been fortunately very, very successful. We're result driven.
Yeah,
we're result driven.
Well, you're a numbers guy. Everything's a metrics with you.
100%.
So
yes.
when you have to be keen on that when a client comes to you, you're looking at a base level scenario. You're going to consult them. Yep. You're going to essentially hold their hand and give them a level of comfort and confidence in the process.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. We do. We provide a service. It's not just come in, sign up, and see you later.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, that's the backstory. That's the journey to get from point A to point B.
That's the fast version, right?
You're right.
Oh, man.
I know, Anthony, because I can speak with you, and I look down, and 2 hours have gone by.
You're right.
But I love it. Yeah. That's the sign of a good relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And we'll make appointments, every 30 minutes, but it's really tough to stick to that.
Boy,
it's hard when because you don't want to rush anybody. Listen, I could get on my soapbox and talk about Western medicine, allopathic medicine, and all the crap that goes along with this this healthcare crap in our country, right? But you notice that these doctors are on the stopwatch. I mean, 8 minutes they're in and out.
Amazing.
And we all sense it. We all feel it. We're all frustrated.
You can sense that
right.
on
It's
some level.
I forgot to say this, or I forgot to say that to him because I was pressured, right?
Yeah. You only realize that when you're 20 minutes down the road in your car.
Correct, and that's something I
avoid that.
I avoid that. So setting up, and for lack of a better word, we'll just call this our model. I keep that
first and foremost.
Yes, like service, man. And listen, there's sometimes you have to pull the plug.
You got to use discretion.
Right. Because enough is enough. But you have to be there because this is new. Not everybody. Listen, I'm going to say to you, and I know me and you've talked the numbers game before, and I know we'll get deeper into this at some point, but 70% of my clients are women. And out of those 70%, 90% don't go to the gym. Mm. So these people don't know it. They're not around it. So you have to hold their hand and babysit and make them feel comfortable. This is, listen, if you're going to do some form of peptide or even the HRT or TRT, and you're injecting a foreign substance into your body, you really need to have confidence in the provider who's prescribing that to you, right?
Damn straight.
So it's real important that you build that relationship and they have trust in you, and that you're there for them. I mean, again, we're talking about people's lives here, their health.
Oh, absolutely.
It's important, man.
It really is. And when you have their best interest, as you say, at heart, and you're top of mind while you're in the presence, you're present when you're present.
Oh yeah, you have to be. You have to be in the moment.
Well, just like that 8-minute, jam up session, they feel the fact that you're going to hear them out, and that's key. So, a lot of comfort in that. Where do I sign, right?
Yeah, right. Well, again, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, again, going back to the numbers, someone comes in or someone calls me on the phone, 95% of the times they're a patient.
Yeah.
They're a patient. Because I take the time, I listen to them. I hear what they're dealing with. I listen to their goals, their wants, their needs, and I shoot straight. Okay? So, we have to manage expectations, right?
Yeah.
So in doing that, you have to be straightforward. You don't have to be arrogant or cocky or condescending that they don't know. You just got to be straightforward. Educate, right? And I'm an advocate of an educated consumer, right? They make the best decisions, and you help them along to make the best choice for them at that time, because goals change. Typically within 6 months, I have you feeling like a totally new person. You may want to do something different, and we'll reevaluate.
Sure. We're going to revisit
and adjust. You know what I mean? Like you have to. I say bob and weave.
Yep.
Right?
Shuck and jive.
Shuck and jive. Right.
Yeah. From the fight background.
Correct. Shuck and jive. Right.
Totally get you.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk more about that stuff as we go down the line here. I just wanted, and I appreciate you sharing your history. You no longer, your name's Anthony, not Boy.
Yeah, right.
You got that entrepreneurial spirit about you. The vent, you've parlayed it, and the education that you've gleaned from the Arthur Murray's dance studio, it's served you well.
Yes.
And I think that the people will really appreciate that when they get to know when they come in, and they can find you over at BonitaRejuvenation.com.
Correct. Yep.
And just reach out, make an appointment and stuff. But as far as your backstory and everything, pretty compelling. It seems like you've lived 2 or 3 lives all wrapped up
feels
in
like
one.
it.
Doesn't it sometimes?
It feels like
It's crazy.
It really is crazy. I was saying to you about being in the 30th year in the police department, and you look back and you go, wow, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Literally yesterday. So everything that we've talked about up to this point, Bob, really has to do for me with longevity. We're not here that long.
Snapshot.
Snapshot.
Blink
brother.
of the eye.
30 years ago, I was standing there being sworn in. Okay?
Just like yesterday.
And 30 years from now, God willing, I'm still here. But I always say, I don't just want to live a long life and exist. I want to actually live.
Flourish.
I want to live during that time.
Sure.
Not just be here in a bed or in hospice. I want to live until I no longer live.
Well said.
And that's the attitude we have here. And when I said to you earlier that this isn't for everyone, believe it or not everyone has that mindset.
It's true. It's not for everyone. You're here for the people, for ears that want to hear.
Yes.
And eyes that want to see.
And if you want to hear and you want to see, I have your back.
Anthony Chiarolanza, you are the man. Well, folks, that's a wrap for that's a wrap for this episode of the Unlock the New You podcast. First ever episode where we learned about Anthony. And remember, at Bonita Rejuvenation, we are redefining aging one breakthrough at a time. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the Unlock the New You podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Anthony, you're a rock star.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, brother.
Cool beans, brother.